I want to shift over to the race between open source models and API models. I know that you are an ardent critic of open source models, primarily because it gives China an advantage in this AI race. I'm curious to shed a bit more light on that and imagine a future where China does get ahead of the US. What is at stake here?
At Sun, we started basically the open source movement with NFS and all that. That was the most visible. That was before Linux and before other open source projects. We are the investors in GitLab, which is open source. GitHub, most people don't realize, wasn't open source. It was for open source. GitLab was open source for open source and private source. Very broadly. So I've been a huge fan of open source and still am. Only thing I'm talking about is state-of-the-art models which can benefit China in this race. Why is that important? Because whoever wins this race of AI technology over the next 20 years will have strong economic influence. And whoever has strong economic influence will have strong political influence. So I think what's at stake is that the world believe in liberal philosophies, things like freedom of speech, or it believes in more authoritarian kind of approach to life, as in China's approach and the CCP's approach. They like centralized control. I'm not an authoritarian approaches to system, and they're reasonable arguments. I'm not saying those are bad. They prefer that political system. I don't. And so I think the right political system for the rest of the world, not just the US, is at stake.
And if regulation doesn't intervene to limit the distribution of open source models, is there any other path to us slowing down China's speed of innovation? Is regulation a prerequisite for us to limit the distribution?
It's never by itself either the complete solution or sufficient. What I'd say is it can help slow China down and accelerate us, like banning chips into China, the latest NVIDIA chips into China. That's a really good idea. Not giving them access to state-of-the-art models is a big idea. But they will still hack every company they can to try and steal those technologies. That's well established. They will then use it to exercise influence and control. I just had an op-ed in the Financial Times today, in fact, saying why TikTok should be banned. Because it's an instrument through which future persuasive AI could be used to influence vote in a way that would be detrimental to liberal values, in my view. And I say liberal values because it applies all over the world, not just in the West. And I think it's pretty important. Fundamental freedoms survive political systems.